A prism with 23-sided polygonal bases had a tunnel cut through it in the form of a prism with 25-sided polygonal bases. Find the number of faces, vertices, and edges of the resulting solid. So what's going on here is we have a prism with bases that are 23-sided polygons, a larger external prism, and there is a hole that's drilled through the prism, and this hole has a cross section that is a 25-sided polygon. We don't have a picture. We'll try to solve the problem by using our spatial visualization skills. What we're going to do is we don't have a picture for our solid in the question, but we're going to look at a simpler picture so that we can understand the structure of the solid that we really are trying to work on. What I have here is a prism with a hexagonal bases, and the hole that goes through is another prism with pentagonal bases. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this prism the outer prism, the one that has a hexagonal cross section, the outer prism, and the hole, I'm going to call it the inner tunnel. And of course, I'm not looking at this picture. I'm going to work on this one and this one. So now we kind of have two separate questions. We have two separate questions. So let's see what happens here. First, the outer prism is a prism with polygonal bases that are 23-sided polygons. Well, how many faces would that outer prism have? So a prism with 23-sided polygonal bases will have 25 faces. 23 plus 2, 25. How many vertices would it have? 23 times 2, or 46. Try to visualize it. 46. How many edges would it have? It would be 23 times 3, and that's going to give you 69. So the first part is fairly easy. We'll look at the outer prism and try to decide how many vertices, faces, and edges that prism would have. By the way, F stands for the number of faces, V for the number of vertices, E for the number of edges. Let's go ahead. Think about what we can do with the inner tunnel. Note the inner tunnel, I'm going to use this picture, but of course I'm referring to this one. The inner tunnel is shaped like a prism, but two of the bases of the inner tunnel are missing, and they shouldn't be counted as the faces of the solid final structure or the final solid with the tunnel. So let's go back to our tunnel in the original question. Our tunnel in the original question is a prism that has bases that are shaped like 25-sided polygons. Now, how many lateral faces would my inner tunnel have? The inner tunnel will have only 25 lateral faces because I'm not taking the bases into account. It'll have two more bases. It will have the inner tunnel. If it was a prism all by itself, it would have 27 faces, but it only has 25 because 25 faces are the faces we are interested in. I'm going to write 25 here. Okay, all the vertices of the inner tunnel, or the prism that forms the inner tunnel, will have to be accounted for because all those vertices will become the vertices of my final structure. So the inner tunnel must have 25 times 2, or 50 vertices. I'm going to put 50 here. Okay. All the edges of the inner tunnel, which is shaped like a prism, will have to be accounted for because they become the edges of my final structure. They're also the edges of the final structure. So if I have the inner tunnel is shaped like a prism that has 25-sided polygons as its base, the total number of edges that little prism, try to visualize it, will have is 25 times 3, or 75. Now I'm almost done. All I have to do is think about the final structure. Okay, So far, what we have done is we have we concluded that the outer prism has 25 faces, 46 vertices, and 69 edges, and the inner tunnel has 25 faces that we should account for, 50 vertices, and 75 edges. My final structure, which is comprised of both the inner tunnel and the outer prism, which is not a prism anymore with the hole, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. The final structure will have how many faces? Well, 25 plus 25, I'm going to write 50. And how many vertices? 50 plus 46, or 96 vertices. How many edges? 75 plus 69 is 144, I believe. Yes, it's 144. Sorry. Let's go ahead and make it 96, and we concluded 69 plus 75 is 144. So all I did, I carefully found out the number of faces, number of vertices, number of edges the outer prism would have, and the number of faces, number of vertices, number of edges the inner tunnel would have. Then I added them together. 25 plus 25 is 50, 46 plus 50 is 96, 69 plus 75 is 144. So these are my final answers.